Tori, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Is your first podcast?
No,
Oh, what was your other one?
I did one with Kenzie Burke a little while ago. But
Okay.
I don't think she has a podcast anymore.
What did you guys talk about on that?
At the time, it was very much like spiritual awakening. We were just kind of riffing about life. And I've also been on one other that was more about mental health with a girl who has a podcast that kind of bridges the gap between being a person in the world, like a young woman, and then dealing with anxiety and depression. So this is my third podcast.
Okay, you're an experienced pro.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to have you on because I like sharing client stories. And everybody has a very unique, interesting story that I've found through training people in the last 20 years. It's just everyone you meet has wisdom to offer, insights to offer, and everyone's so interesting, right? How did you first even decide to come? I don't even remember where we met. Was it at Kuya?
No.
Are you sure?
No, through Ariana.
Yeah.
I mean, I had heard about you through social media. I think listening to a podcast or two, I had heard about you. And then when I moved to Austin, seen that you were a trainer in the city. And at the time I had been looking, kind of like peeling the door open again to lifting because I took some time off for a while, for many years. And so you had been in the back of my mind. And then through meeting a friend who I met through Kuya, she went and trained with you. And then she was like, hey, you want to come train? And then I went and did a session with her. And then once I was there, I was like, okay, I want to actually like pursue training more seriously with Brent.
How long have we been training together?
Probably like 7 months.
Really?
I don't know.
Wow. I don't either. Time doesn't exist in my brain.
I don't know. I just show up.
So do I.
I just show up and you tell me what to do and I hope it goes well.
Exactly. I'm just curious, what's your experience been like so far? I've never really asked you.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Because I'm just going to tell you what to do anyway, but
yeah, and I just will chirp at you the whole time. It's been
awful.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I hate it. No, it's been amazing for many reasons. I think one, just because I have been in the position of like teaching fitness, it's really nice to have someone tell me what to do and not be the one who's teaching. And I think like in the spaces outside of the studio, I want a place to go to be able to just work out and pursue fitness in a way that I'm not having to guide. And so like that's amazing to have somebody. I think specifically you understand the female body in a way that has made such an instrumental difference in what I see in my physique and also the way I feel just held in the experience of lifting. And from the beginning, you were for me, my background is as an athlete, right? So I played soccer from 4 to 23 at a highly competitive level. And I had a pretty debilitating back injury when I was right after my freshman year in college. And so weightlifting for me was very much associated with training for high-level athletics and something that I was told that I probably wouldn't be able to do again, specifically like anything loading in big ways on my back. So squats, like deadlifts, anything like that. So for me, I've been really weary of being in the gym without support and without guidance. And at the same time, like my body is built to weight train and to move in explosive ways. And so finding you and you having that sort of eye of like what it means to be a woman, what it means to have a female body, just with your experience working with so many women, and then also being able to fold in nuanced training and nuanced recommendations and tips in a group experience, like has just been so profound for me. And then also, of course, like as I see myself getting stronger and feel better and feel more just embodied in my own energy and my own power, my own physique, then that's just another level of gratitude that I experience, for training with you.
Yeah, and you're super fun to train because you'll do what I tell you.
Sometimes.
And you'll just, yeah, kind of. You have some resistance, but it's at least playful resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because you're an athlete, I can be more direct or kind of push you, and I can find the edges of like push you a little harder, maybe, of what you think you can and can't do. And so that's a fun thing, right? Also trying to help you organize things on the outside of the gym and watch that kind of unfold. When you showed up, what was the place you were in with your life?
It's a good question.
Because there's always everyone walks through the door with a lot going on. Everybody, right? And that's what's cool about training is it can be the thing that is kind of like your pillars to ground everything else going on around you. At least it's like this is a stable thing and I'm getting more fit and strong, because everything around you will always kind of keep changing, and it can be helpful in addressing those other things going on in your life. I mean, that's how I've always found training for me. If I'm not training, then everything else is way more chaotic. It's like, at least if I can do that, whatever the chaos is, it helps me so much more, or I feel more secure for some reason.
Absolutely. I mean, this this last year has been probably the hardest year I have had since 2018, around when I graduated school. Um, and I would say even before that, I moved to Austin in 2023, fall of 2023. And I feel like from the moment that I set foot here, everything about my life has radically changed in a way that has been so humbling and so challenging and also deeply necessary. So, I mean, if we roll it back, I mean, if I started coming to you like 7, 8 months ago, I was right on the foottails of a breakup. So, my partner and I have almost 10 years, who I adore deeply. And we just had such an incredible relationship. The two of us both decided that for our growth individually and collectively, we needed to take a step back, which on the outside, from everyone else's perspective, was sort of like, whoa, with the exception of people extraordinarily close to us who knew us intimately. Because if you would see us interact, we were like so deeply in love and had such a pure connection. And still do to this day. And it was one of those situations where the two of us were trying, like, life is so complex, as we all know. And I met him when I was 19, right? I'm 29. So those years are some of the most, in my opinion, like pivotal growth years. And to hold a relationship alongside so much individual growth just had been so beautiful, but also took a toll on the two of us and our relationship. So that was a decision that we had been sort of toying back and forth on for months. And as you can imagine, that level of time together and that level of history together had so much weight to it. Like, to walk away from that was such a massive decision and came with so much baggage. And I think for me, I can only speak for myself in the situation. I was so scared to let it go, because I knew once I removed that stone, let's call it, like there was so much underneath that needed to be looked at. So, and I've struggled with anxiety since I was a little girl. Didn't have the language for it at the time, obviously, but for me, just this feeling of like decision making, and I would hide under the sink 2 weeks before a dentist appointment and like hang onto my mom's leg before school when I was little. Like, there's so many little things for me that now I can look back and be like, wow, I was a pretty anxious child. But soccer, I found, and at a competitive level at age 8. And so for me, that was like my anti-anxiety drug. And so flash forward, like going through a breakup like that. So removing the number one constant in my life in a new city where I don't have a community yet, where I don't have family support, where I am not solidified in my career. Like, that was also going through a big shift. And then remove that one solid thing. It was, and having no soccer, like no anchor, it was like, oh God, here I am. So I was coming to you, and that's where I was at, right? Like I was just raw and fresh out. Um, and for me too, still to this day, athletics has been, with the exception of my faith, um, the number one way for me to just feel grounded and at peace and anchored to something inside of turbulence in my life.
How do you feel like you've grown since making that decision to be on your own and explore things?
It's almost like I look back at photos of myself even,
Mhm.
and I look different. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever have that experience where you like
All
look
the
back
time.
and you're like, oh my gosh, like when you're when you chase growth and transformation, I think this is just inevitable. You transform so quickly. And I feel like when I look at photos of myself even, I'm just like, wow, I don't even recognize her. And simultaneously, I mean, in December of this year, I hit such a big mental health rock bottom, like panic attacks multiple times a day. Um, like getting out of bed and the first thing I'm thinking is like, oh no, you know, like looking in the mirror and being like, who is that person? And so now kind of coming up the other side of it, I look back and I'm like, wow, and in my relationship too, like mm, he was such an incredible anchor of support. And so I often would lean on him for emotional support. And so it's like learning a new language, leaning on myself and leaning on God for emotional support. And so now I'm so profoundly grateful to have had to figure that out. And I mean, I'm not going to say figure that out, like be figuring that out because it's still something I'm figuring out.
Well, you could have easily just ignored it and stayed, and I'm sure the relationship would have been fine. But inside of you, it sounds like your soul was trying to grow, right? And you needed to, there's only one way for you to do that. And it was to get really uncomfortable and take away your security,
Hmm.
right? And I remember meeting you, like things did feel kind of very chaotic for you, but now you feel more and more grounded, especially when you came back from the last vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last session we had, you seem more there.
Yeah. Well, I believe that if you have anything on the altar of your life, like besides, and for me, it's God. For me, it's Jesus. For others, it's something different. If you idolize anything other than that, so whether that's your body, whether that's a man or a woman, whether that's a diet, work, like if you are serving that thing, if you're slave to that thing,
Mm.
then you're inevitably going to be unhappy. And it's not until you humble yourself so much and really think, like, remove all of the things that you are just gripping to. Like, when I use the word idolizing, I mean something that you're like almost like relying on for a source of safety, for a source of okayness, worth, whatever it may be.
Mm.
When you remove that out of the way and you are met with like, uh-oh, now what? Who am I? Like, there's nothing to do besides get so rooted in who you are and get so rooted in, it's my belief that we need something bigger than ourselves to have faith in. And there's a level of peace and groundedness that I don't believe can achieve without going there and feeling that. And I think many people don't ever actually know what that's like. Like, I think many people do just grip to whatever the material thing may be or coping mechanism may be. And so it's a result. I feel like my groundedness and the way I feel right now is as a result of having to strip everything away and go all the way down.
I think it's what I would call false prophets, in that a false prophet is you are looking at something as though that is the thing that gives your life and things meaning, but those will eventually fade, like money. Like you are obsessed with money and someone chases it to the day they die, or they only focus on that and it doesn't fulfill their lives, or your image, right? Or could be whatever materialistic thing or whatever it might be, but it's like you're using that as like the purpose of life. right? Where, from what I understand, you're saying having some belief in that this world we live in is like temporary and there is something bigger beyond this, and having that connection to it helps you gives you this ability to find peace and also guidance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's everyone's going to walk that path in a different way, right? Um but I do believe that if you are a slave to something, that's the best way I can say it, and then that thing goes away. It's like, what do I do? Right? So the best, I believe, posture of confidence and strength, or that there's just like a level of confidence knowing that, gosh, if everything was taken away from me, my relationship, my house, my, I don't even know what else you could list. There's tons of things like
Family,
family,
money.
right? Like I'd be okay. I would genuinely be okay. And for me, that has not been my story. Like I have experienced crippling panic and anxiety of, I don't know if it comes from, like genetics. I don't know if it comes from just part of what my purpose on this planet is to do and overcome. But I can remember even what I'm 29, so even 2 years ago, 27, like staying home alone for me was scary, which sounds crazy at 27 years old, but I like would be met with crippling anxiety of like, oh my gosh, someone's going to come and kidnap me. It sounds silly, but it's like that feeling of like doom. If I don't have like this, I'm not going to be okay. Or for me, again, like when you battle something like anxiety or depression, I do think we're more vulnerable to gripping to certain things. And for me, for a while, it was meditation and yoga and breath work and Wim Hof. Like I remember during COVID, um, having like this feeling of unrest and finding Wim Hof breath method. And all of a sudden I started doing it every single day for a year straight, right? And then following it with a cold shower and then I was like meditating and all these amazing tools. And I love all of these tools. However, it got to a point where it was like, I can't speak to anyone. I can't look at anyone. I can't even interact with anyone until I do my things. And my family will laugh because like we do a family vacation with 30 people all in one house. And my reputation is like I'm out sitting somewhere, doing some crazy breath practice early in the morning because I didn't know who I was. I felt like I couldn't find peace without those things. And so that's just another form, in my opinion, of like idolizing something and gripping to something. It doesn't mean we don't have the tools that we are reaching for in moments where we're struggling, but it's who am I without those things? And that's just like a whole next level of spiritual development, in my opinion, is like when you can actively choose to employ a tool in a given moment, not because you desperately need it, but because you know it will elevate what's already there. And so, yeah, I mean, you reflecting that to me the other day about like feeling and experiencing me as really grounded is such a huge compliment for me because it's not something that comes naturally, which I think may surprise most people who interact with me because I kind of come across as like, oh, I got it all together, and that is not the case or has not been the case.
I don't know if I'd say altogether, but what I would say.
Well, you see me as a chaotic mess.
No, I like that though. But I see someone that's confident and like outgoing and not anxious. That would be the last thing I would ever think about you. So I think that's interesting that that's like part of your story.
Really?
I'm sure if you asked any of your friends, they would never say you're an anxious person.
Close people to me now, but
yeah.
I guess I have had that from people who've met or experienced me I don't want to say on the surface because I'm not really good at being on the surface at all in general. But yeah, I guess I would say I come across as level.
Not level.
Level-headed.
No,
I'm not level-headed.
No. Not anxious.
Okay.
Swirling in the wind.
I am.
I like that. I like that.
Very.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm an alien, I feel like,
You're
to some degree.
You're a great tornado, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can see all the emotions going on in you as you show up to the gym.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying now is, and the thing is, anybody can hide any of those anxieties and whatnot. So not necessarily that you didn't have, like, they can definitely be there and people can put on whatever. But you definitely feel a little more grounded. And maybe what that is less of the anxiety,
Mhm.
right? So your thoughts and your feelings, because it seems like you're the type of person who feels a lot, and then it just gets expressed through your movement and verbalizing things. And because that's less, now you're like a little more just
Mhm.
present and less of that.
Well, you hit the nail on the head of I feel so much.
Mm-hmm.
Abnormal amounts.
Mm-hmm. You're like my sister. She's the same. Like, you know what she's feeling at all times.
Mhm.
Always. And then she also doesn't have a filter. So it's just immediate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I've grappled with this because it's such a gift. I can feel for myself and I can feel for others. So that's also really challenging. Sometimes I can't really discern what's me and what's not.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
been work, but it's such a gift and it's such a curse because sometimes I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I can't hold all of the feelings that I have." It's why movement is my absolute therapy because it's almost like I have a surge of so much moving through my body all the time. The best way for me to move the energy, right? Like energy moves and movement and breath and sound, 3 ways that energy moves through the body, and that's why it's such catharsis for me. But it's been work of okay. Um, I love this saying of like, can my faith be stronger than my feelings? We don't need to bypass our feelings, but we also don't need to get completely overwhelmed and overcome by our feelings. And that's something that I think I used to battle all the time was just getting wiped out by my emotions. Not on the outside. People like in a work setting or in a coffee shop or at a gym, like no one's going to see that. But people in my intimate life would see that. And to be sensitive and sensitized is, I believe, one of the most profound things about being a human on earth. Like, we are meant to experience the world through our senses, like to smell and to taste and to touch. That's why yoga has been such a profound practice because it sensitizes us to the world. And so it's magic to feel in such an intimate way. And it creates an experience where we can start to trust our feelings and let our feelings lead us. And I don't believe that that is beneficial at all because our feelings are flighty and temporary. So if I trusted every feeling that I had, then I would probably not be living a life that's aligned with my goals, you know?
That's why in some of the parts of spiritual community, people that are like, I'm just not really feeling into that right now, or I'm not like, I have
Don't get
some
me
clients
started.
that are like, I don't, I'm feeling in my cycle. I just shouldn't really train hard now. And you're like, dude, I get it. I've been around that stuff, and it can be a framework to help you start to listen to what you're feeling, but to have your emotions guide you everywhere is what 5-year-olds do.
This is true.
Yeah. So like I understand in the beginning for a lot of people, it's a new experience to try to let themselves honor what they're feeling and try like, I feel tired. I'm going to do but there's a balance. You can't let that lead
chaos
your life.
without discipline.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I believe we've gotten really soft in our society. And maybe that's just because I live in Austin, Texas, and there is like, it's the world of the woo, where it's like, my third eye is telling me that I need it. It's like, come on, right? And I'm being extreme with that, but
I think it's also the particular group you may have just interacted with.
yeah, and I've distanced myself from that just for my own well-being at this point. But I do think that like the most spiritual people and the most spiritual things I think exist are simple, disciplined, consistent action, not sexy, not flashy, not anything. It is just like the work nobody sees. It's small action steps every single day. It's lifting a weight, right? Like picking up a weight and doing it multiple times a week and watching yourself get stronger. And, in the morning, what are you doing? Praying, asking for support, like daily disciplined actions create a person that is spiritual. And this whole idea of like doing spirituality, which is a very new age concept, I see where it comes from, and I don't think there is malintent in it, but it's just we're getting away from the point, right? Which is to be of service, and to be of service, we have to fuel ourselves and make ourselves feel good and like do the work every single day to show up in the world in a more healthy way. And I don't know why I'm going on this tangent, but like that it just
So I think that's why they call it spiritual narcissism. It's because that spiritual world, which I'm starting to like make sense. You're so focused on you all the time, your needs, what you need. This, I got to do this thing to make me feel this way, to be this way around other people, where you're disciplining these practices to be healthy and good, so you can, for other people, to give other people, to help people in your community, family, yourself, all of those things.
totally. And I also have fallen into the trap of that.
Well,
For sure.
Totally, me too.
You know?
And that's fine. Like, because we live in a world with all kinds of practices and all kinds of information, there may be periods of time where it's like you experience that and you embody it for a while and then you go on to something else. But I think it's a part of the evolution process. It's like, when you're a teenager, you go through a phase. You're like a punk rocker or skater or whatever, and you have the phase and you do the thing, and then, but like you move on to the next thing, right? It's just a part of the evolution onto something more. And you're going to keep evolving as you learn things. But some people get stuck.
Totally.
And then it becomes everything.
Totally. And when you're in a place of desperation, you're ultimately going to reach for something, and then you may find something and you're like, oh, whoa, this is cool. This is new. And then you start like getting obsessed with it, and it starts becoming this whole thing. And I do believe in what you're saying, which is like, in my experience, it's all come full circle, right? Like you start with the seed and you start to explore something, and you start to maybe get too obsessed with it and become too, on the self journey of self-help and self-development, all just to come all the way back full circle.
But different.
Yeah.
Like you would not understand what you understand or connect to what you connect with now if you didn't go through that whole thing. Like you're not going to just pop out and just be like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a process of, I think with anything, connection to whatever you believe and feel, it's a process of figuring out what's true for you and always experimenting and experiencing the world to see what is true for you. And so you got to go on these like random side quests to be able to give you frame of reference for what is real and not real for you, right? You just got to try some other shit. Like maybe if you grew up eating Italian food your whole life, you're like, maybe it's not really that good. So you eat a bunch of Chinese food for a while.
No, it's really good.
I know, but you eat a bunch of other stuff, and then you're like, now I have a better understanding of how fucking good it is. Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally. It kind of comes back to the point about weight training, to be honest, because for a while, like again, I've said this before. I'm an athlete. I was an athlete my whole life. I'm 5'5", 5'4", and like I have a pretty strong build. And in the world that we're in now, like if I'm looking at social media and I'm looking at kind of the generation, the younger generations in my generation, it's this like Pilates and green juice sort of image. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like there isn't. However, for a while, for me, in my own journey, I'm so obsessed with fitness and moving in all different ways. And I love to move in many ways. And I'm also somebody who likes to explore all different types of perspectives. But for a while I was like, okay, I should be like doing only Pilates and, da-da-da-da-da. And weight training is going to make me gain weight, and weight training is going to make me swollen. And like whatever the story is, talk about like sprinting and treadmill work, completely cut that out of like, this is going to jack my cortisol. And I'm like, whose story is that? Right? Like whose story is that? I don't know whose story that is. It's not mine though. And this full circle journey is like going on this path of, separating in my relationship and being alone and starting to ask myself the questions of like, what makes me feel good? And, working with you, for example, I'm like, wow, I feel really strong when I lift heavy weight. I feel really vital and healthy. And you know this because I've asked you, I'm like, Brent, like, am I going to get swollen? And, I'm concerned about this thing because of what I'm hearing or seeing online. And one of the most cathartic things you've shared with me is like, Tori, like this works for this kind of woman and like this works for you, and really coming back to what works for me. And that I love to sprint and I love to train hard and I love to be gritty, and that's for me, and learning about what actually works for me and what doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I think everybody has a certain recipe that if you can find that recipe that makes you just feel so good. And the foundation of that recipe is everybody should lift weights, but not everybody needs to do it a certain way. Everybody should generally lift weights a couple times a week, but there's a lot of ways you can do that. And you should focus on at least getting a little bit stronger over time. But again, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. In training really heavy or getting really strong or just doing a little more circuit, or maybe somebody always kind of stays lighter, whatever. Because generally that's just going to make you feel better at whatever the other things you want to do are, whether that's yoga or sprints or swimming or cycling or dancing, whatever the other things. It will help you do more of those things. And then when you find the other things that you really gravitate towards, and you can tell when you kind of look at somebody's body, even when I watch somebody lift, I can tell, okay, that person's body really likes weights. Like I can tell. And some people, because they've never really done anything, it's like, it's a little bit hard to tell, or it's going to take more time, or maybe necessarily it's just for them to maintain health. But some people's bodies, like, I don't know, it's like feeding, I don't know, seeds in a garden, and you give it a little water and that one just starts growing like crazy. And you're like, that one loves this soil, and weight training for that soil. And so when you can dial in all those things together, like if you like swimming, sprinting, this, and you put it all together, not only will your body just look really well and feel really good, but just you feel so alive. When you have that great combination of things you love, and people get, I mean, I even do it too. You start to put in your head, I need to do this or I need to do that. It's like, why not just for the pure joy of it? Like sprinting, because it just is like the high you get and how you feel from it. And then taking the strength you gotten from, doing strong RDLs, you can feel it transfer over into your glutes and hamstrings when you fucking sprint, right?
Mhm.
And then now you can feel when you do yoga, like how much more you can feel your whole body like contract and hold position so much more strong. And then that opens the energy. And then you have this recipe that like when all those are tapped in, which is like what I'm always chasing. There's like a combination. If I do these certain things, these certain workouts I like, and I do it for long enough, I know my body and also just like who I am feels like alive and super present and chasing those things. And that's the unfortunate thing, because I'll hear girls like you say, like, it's so sad to be like, oh, I don't this and that's. Like, no dude that I know or respect is like chasing some girl who's posting Pilates shit. Like, on what planet?
Your perspective on Pilates makes me laugh.
My problem with it is because of why it's marketed to make you think that is going to create a result to look like that.
Mhm.
But like, if you were to only look at from like every exercise and the way you apply exercise has a specific adaptation that's going to happen.
Mhm.
Pilates has such little like adaptation, and only the people that really get a lot out of it are people who already have a very strong connection to their muscles and probably have a good base of strength. Because you may see, like, you go to group class or this, I'll get people, if they've never done anything, they don't really have any coordination or connection to anything, and they don't have any strength. So then they go into these classes, and if you do have strength and good body awareness and then do it, like, I'm sure you've seen people in yoga classes that have like beginner yoga classes, and it's just, they're doing the postures, but they're not getting anything out of it. And they never really progress because they're not really strong enough and they're not connected to the movements. But when you do like a certain position in yoga properly and you can contract everything and you're in your body, yeah, you can get a lot out of it. And that's the problem, is if you add Pilates onto strength training and all that, and then do it and have really good meticulous form, great. But if you're just coming off, if you've never really done anything your whole life and you get thrown into this group of 30 people, you're not going to get very strong because it's not strength training. You have to add weight or lift more over time to get stronger. So you're just kind of burning yourself, and your form's probably not that great, and no one's really watching you I mean, every day a girl DMs me and go, I've been doing Pilates for a while, but nothing's really happening. I think I need to lift weights. All the time, constantly. And then it's marketed to make you think, and you get some girl who has genetics where she's already skinny, lean, and does put on a little muscle really easy if she does a couple push-ups, happens to be an instructor, and then she sells all these women on it. And I also, what I don't like about it is I'm trying to promote females to be strong, because if you become strong, then you can do whatever it is you want to do. That, to me, is promoting you to be weak. You're never getting stronger. You're never getting better at push-ups. You're never putting more weight on your legs to get stronger to be able to lift anything. So then what are you fucking doing?
Well,
But so I get it. You can add that stuff, and it, like, if you're already lifting and then you add it, like some of my clients who are really strong in lifting, then yes, you can, because you can connect to those deeper movements and get it. But unless you're actually fit and strong and then do it, it's like if I took someone super out of shape and made them do like an advanced ballet class, there's no point. But you take a ballet dancer or like someone strong and then they do it and they can learn all those little tiny techniques. Yeah, it'd probably be an amazing workout for them. Right. So that's what I don't like, is it just convinces women to also, like you, it's made you think I need to be this like little thing. And it's like.
Totally. And that's, I just love everything that you said too. And this has been I'm so passionate about this, right? Of like the body is the temple for the spirit to move through. And beauty is so much about like your energy and your light and your expression. And like, you know, when you just see someone and you see this like beauty in them, and it's not anything about necessarily what their physique is, but it's just their energy. And I feel like we've gotten so far away from what that means. People aren't necessarily training or working out. I can't speak for men. I'll just speak for women. Like, rarely I think women are like, I want to do this because I want to feel alive and I want to feel vital and I want to feel expressed and beautiful in who I am, and this thing makes me feel that way. I think maybe after doing certain workouts and feeling that, then that's something they chase, but it's not what leads them. And for me, in my experience with, you know, I've battled all the different things, body image struggles.
Yeah, women are sent an array of shit since they're born. So I understand.
Totally. But there's power in feeling strong. And I don't know why that's not something that we're chasing more. You know, I look at little videos of really skinny women doing leg lifts with a cute little bala weight, and it looks really beautiful with like a pastel outfit. And I'm like impulsing, and I'm like, oh, that looks amazing. Maybe I should do that, you know? And especially teaching yoga, one of the inner thoughts I've battled a lot is I don't have the stereotypical yoga body. I don't have the stereotypical yoga practice. It's not flashy or super advanced.
I mean, the real stereotypical yoga body is a really skinny, vegan Indian dude with really long hair and a beard who can do the craziest positions. So that's a real yoga body. If you want to really go to a yoga body, that's what it actually is.
Let me just grow a beard and maybe I'll get a little
like,
closer.
You can see the ribs. They can fold their legs over their head.
Yeah, I guess I mean westernized.
Yeah.
The westernized feminine aesthetic online of doing a wheel on the beach with a sunset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just so beside the point. It's so beside the point of why we work out and why we move. And
it's all that marketing to people. But I think
need to get better marketing. Is that what we're saying?
No, I'm just trying to convince by training individuals like you. No, women don't listen to me because I'm a guy, which I understand. It's like, what are you talking about? So I just have to show them. And then once you start to experience it, you're like, oh, I get it. Because they're never gonna, even when I send clients certain videos of something cool going on, you may experience this. If the girl has certain features that you don't want to happen to you, you will subconsciously associate that I may be training you in a way that's going to make that happen to you.
True.
And then I have to have an argument. So
is true.
I'm very aware of each female's things that they don't want. And I make sure any girl with big quads, I do not send that video to that client because they'll be like, he's going to get my quads big.
This is a
That's
thought
how
I've
it
had
works.
so many times when you've sent me videos. This is really revealing, Brent.
Mhm.
You're more intuitive than I give you credit for.
Oh, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
So over that time of, up until now, going on your journey, how has this understanding of faith been deepened for you? Like, how did this, like, how does this,
Yeah.
how did you do that?
So I was raised Christian, in the sense of my dad is Catholic and I'm Italian, clearly.
Are you
Can't
full
you tell?
Italian?
75%. My dad's 100%.
Your mom's
My mom's
half?
75%.
She's 75?
Yeah. Or no, half.
Yeah.
Whatever makes me
Yeah, half.
75.
Yeah, she half.
And yeah, my nonna and nonno immigrated from Italy, and we have like a very stereotypical Italian family, and so I was raised Protestant because my mom's Protestant, but I would say I probably went to half Catholic service and half congregational service. I was christened and baptized and confirmed and and went down that path, but we really went to church on holidays, and I'm really lucky in that Jesus was in my life as a child and through my adolescence, just in the way that my parents raised me, but um not in the way that he is now. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people who see me today and even on social media or of recent interaction with me are like, what's this whole Jesus thing, Tori? And they don't get it. And I've always been highly spiritual. I've always had a connection to the Holy Spirit. I've always felt such a reverence in church spaces and, emotional in the presence of God, and didn't really have the language for it. And so for me, again, like I said, hitting such a intense mental health rock bottom, my first really intense mental health rock bottom was in 2018 after I graduated college and I got rid of sports and that was gone, and I started working and I had no idea who I was. I fell into sort of this new age is what we would call it, spiritual path of the Gabby Bernstein's work and Wayne Dyer and all these amazing prophetic people that I just got to learn about self-development and spiritual development from, and really went down the path of studying self and studying the body and studying the breath, and got certified in somatics and got certified in breath and got certified in yoga, and this whole mosh pit of what it's like to be a spirit in a body. And flash forward to when I moved to Austin. I come from the East Coast. I'm Italian. I'm I stick out like a sore thumb as a woman, I would say, in Texas. I'm not a Southern belle kind of energy. You wouldn't probably experience me that way. I'm a little bit more bullish in my.
You got fire.
Yeah, I got fire and I'm pretty blunt, and I'm used to people being what you say is what you get.
I think you probably would resonate with people more outside of Austin in Texas.
Yeah, maybe.
You're probably more Texas than Austin, Texas.
Yeah, maybe. And more of just the point I'm saying is smoke and mirrors is not something I'm used to. And so and truth is really important to me. And so when I moved here,
Which is Italian and East Coast all at the same time.
For sure.
You just say it how it is.
For sure. And so coming into this spiritual community, which is where I first landed when I moved here because of the line of work I was in.
Which is also a lot of West Coast people coming in. So you're meeting that, also that culture as well.
Totally. I was humbled. Humbled by the amount of false prophets, let's call it. Spiritual people posing as people who can help you, really with a hidden agenda. And I'm not going to get into it, but had some experiences early on that really just spooked me and icked me. And my body's so wise. I mean, everyone's body is wise if we listen to it. And it tells me what's a yes and what's a no pretty quickly. And so after kind of getting sucked into the tornado of the spiritual community in Austin, I was spit back out. What is this? I don't want any part of this. I don't want any part of this. And then that was around the time that my partner and I decided to split. And I had realized, I'm oh, okay, so we can be spiritual and have connection to spirits, but not all spirits are created equal. And I really only want a contract with the Holy Spirit. And I've been working with a spiritual mentor. I call her my spiritual aunt. For 8 years. She is one of the most prophetic women that I've ever met, and she's of Christ. So in the background, I've been doing the work with the Spirit of the Lord for 8 years. In more of a private way. And so all of this came to a head and I was like, whoa. And I found my way back to church. I found my way back to, and like different people in my life have been angels and saints in the process, like women I've met in Austin and men I've met in Austin, guiding me sort of back to my faith in a bigger way. And, the coolest part about the Spirit of Jesus is that when you call upon him, he meets you. And whether you're Christian or not, like that's really beside the point. But I have had 3 encounters with Jesus in my life. And when I hit my ultimate rock bottom, which is like being on the floor, unable to eat, unable to move, in panic. If you've had panic attacks, you know what I'm talking about. It feels like you're going to die and you don't know where to reach or where to go or what to do. And there's only one person you can call on. And like being on my knees, just being like, Lord, help me. And like being met by the Spirit of unconditional love. Like the way I describe the feeling is like a presence that meets you, that humbles you, and you just can't do anything but weep. And when you're so void of peace for so long and then you're met in peace, it's something that it's really hard to articulate in words. There's distortion everywhere. There's distortion in the Christian spaces, in the church spaces. There's distortion in the New Age spiritual community. There's distortion everywhere. But at the end of the day, for me, it's been the number one anchor that I've been able to lean on in times where I don't have anywhere else to go. And also in times of beauty, in times of magic, and the miracles I've experienced and the stories that are there as testimonies, like there's tons of them. I could even go off on a tangent and share it. I'm not going to, but yeah, I mean, I would say through pain, I mean, the context of being raised with the Spirit of the Lord, and then through my own pain process, and then also just like coming up and awakening into truth. And someone said to me once, like, if it's chaotic, it's not from God. And to me, a lot of this sort of like New Age spirituality of like, let's do this energy healing session and like try this thing and that thing, like it's got a spirit of just chaos to me. And when I'm connected to Jesus and my faith in the Holy Spirit, I'm connected to peace. And there's the biblical side of that, which is going to church and reading the word and learning and submerging yourself in, that information in that path. But there's also like the embodiment of Christ in your heart, which to me is love, like unconditional love and permission, non-judgment, and just kindness. And so,
I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't have that, then all that word and then all that other stuff doesn't make any sense.
100%.
And there's plenty of people, whatever you're part of, I don't care what religion or spiritual belief, if you don't have that in your heart, you're full of shit. Like you're not, like you can get, different religions can argue about all the things, but if you're not a loving individual who shows empathy and care and live in that way, then whatever your book is, it doesn't fucking mean anything because you haven't even embodied any of it. And then, yes, if you have that and then you do that and it helps give you deeper meaning and understanding, then you have a nice synergy, right? But you have to have that first.
100%. I think that there's...
Or at least be trying to... You're using that as a way of trying to embody it.
Totally.
Or find it.
We can say a million things, People can say they do one thing and act in another way. And I've lately been coming back to this idea is you can recognize, someone by the fruit that they bear, and which is action. Words are useless without action. And it's the same exact thing with faith and Christianity. And unfortunately, there's we're imperfect people, and there's a lot of people that have brought a bad name to what it means to love Jesus or represent Jesus. And Jesus was a humble, kind man, and permissioned people. So I completely agree. And I think that just comes too with like spending more time contemplating in quiet spaces with God, and feeling and noticing and sensing and not having to look to other people to tell you the directions, but really like getting to know what spirit feels like in your body, right? And in your soul and in your connection, and then you can really embody that. And I think embodiment in general is something that a lot of our society struggles with, like wanting to be viewed in a certain way and doing certain things and saying certain things, but the action just not being there to support it.
When you say that you've met like the spirit of Jesus, do you, which I believe you, do you feel that there's a difference when you say that? Is that interconnected with you saying like you feel God, or is it a separate thing? Like how do you view it and experience? Like, so is it an interchangeable word for you, or it is a separate feeling or energy? I just want to understand.
No, it's a good question. I like this question because it makes me think too. I mean, there's the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, right? So if the Holy Spirit is like the breath of life, to me, and again, Christians who have more maybe a biblical
I just want
reference
I don't care.
point, like I might mess this up. So,
No,
disclaimer.
We don't care about any of that. I just want what you feel and need.
So the Holy Spirit for me is is the Spirit of God in my body, like the Spirit of
everything that is in life, and
like it's how I experience God through the filter of Tori. The spirit of Jesus is like a very distinct spirit to me. So like I have like seen him in my vision. I've had an experience in the bathtub where like I hear his voice saying, "Lean your head on me," and I lean my head on the spout of the bathtub, and like I feel his presence, and I just know it's him. Like I don't know how to explain it in words other than like I know, and then I'm just overcome with emotion. God to me is like the creator of all things. And so I would say I use when I pray, for example, like I use Jesus and God interchangeably, but they are different.
I understand
in my
I think I understand.
experience.
So like God it's kind of like the thing that is through all things and everything, but the Spirit is maybe in that and made up of that, but it is also a very specific spirit.
Jesus
that comes from
that. Jesus was a human being on earth, right? I believe that Jesus was the Son of God and came in form, in flesh, to experience life like we did, but also was from the heavenly space. And when he was resurrected, there was a pathway created. Like the veil was broken between earth and the eternal. So we have access to call upon him, the eternal, right? Heaven, through our prayer, through the path that God created, which was through Jesus, through a man in flesh who then was resurrected and had eternal life. So, like God is the ultimate creator, and then our pathway to God is through Jesus. In my opinion, like that's my belief, right? Like that's a very Christian
following
perspective.
What he believes and what he taught is the way to get to there. To
get to like all that, I believe all that the benevolence that we have to experience in the world. And that's what's really cool about the Bible if you read it. I mean, there's a lot of complicated things and out of context things that have been taken and confused in the world, but there is so much beauty that we have accessible to us, like the idea of heaven on earth. Like we can live a life that actually feels heavenly. We can live a life that is peaceful. These like feelings of anxiety and depression and like confusion and like all these things, these aren't the way that we were designed to experience life. These are as a result of the ways in which we fall as human beings, like the decisions that we make because we're human and we make decisions that maybe aren't in our best interest. And so, like there is a way to live in perfect peace. There is a way to live out heaven on earth. There is a way to bring that energy to other people if you live in a way that aligns with the original design of what God created. And Jesus in the Gospels, like those are, the accounts of who Jesus was. Like if you read who he was and you listen to his word, there is a lot of peace that you can experience through living out what he invites to, you to set or you to do.
I agree in that. My thought is and I've experienced this maybe in my own life, like living different realities, and some have felt like I was in hell and could see how it could go deeper into hell. And I've lived in moments where it does feel that place as almost you are shifting into different, almost like realms or experiences in which you can have, like, be on earth. And so it's almost like you can create hell on earth. And as you, in some ways, it sounds like you're saying, as you move following Jesus, it's like you can experience that peace at all times. So you're in, like, you've created that realm here in some ways.
Or that's what I seek to try to do, and I fail all the time because I'm imperfect and I messed up and I'm a human being. But ultimately, it's,
To me, it makes total sense.
yeah.
I'll tell you this. It's going to maybe take too long to try to tell you this.
Try.
So there's one podcast I listened to a while ago on Rogan. I was listening to it when I was in Vietnam on this like long ass ride. And at first it was very strange and it like took a lot to get into. It was this old scientist dude and he was doing research. I can't remember how he came up with this, but he kind of proved that consciousness existed, right? Then he started coming up with these like insanely deep theories. And the gist of it was, using this computer, he was realizing through studying the universe that consciousness was being put through people's bodies to lower what he called entropy and to move it closer and closer to basically no entropy. And it's a 3 hour. By the time you get to the end, what he did through all this stuff is like, he's like, to him, now he sees in all this religions that it's reflecting the exact same thing he did through all these models. And it makes sense if you think about it, is the highest, or like to lower entropy, the purest form is basically, that's what he's like, it's just trying to reach love. So like if that peaceful state is that just main vibration where everything, and that is it's like, and he also said that this consciousness is moving through all these people and experiencing things to like collect data to try to keep moving higher and higher to that place. And then the last half is how it relates so much to these teachings and kind of gives you like the common theme that's happening, which is so cool to hear. This guy doesn't believe in any of this stuff. This super nerdy guy, he's got this book called Big Toe Theory, and him explaining this, you're like, that's wild. That he wasn't even going after any of that, that it has that. And if you overlay kind of what you said, it's just the same, it's just different words. And it's fucking cool. Cause then you're like, wow, that's really fucking cool. Right?
You know what fascinates me? And again, I'll be quick.
And that was a really fucking tiny, I probably butchered it and I listened to it like
you did
6
great.
months ago.
I was following. That was a pretty succinct description. I find it so fascinating that there's so many spiritual figures out there. There's like all these ideas, and something about the name Jesus triggers people.
I think it's just
like and he said it. He's like, if you follow me, you're going to be hated. Like it's fascinating to me. I was just talking to a friend about this, that it's like something about his name and sharing the way of life that he embodied and preached creates such a stir in our society.
You know what it is? I was watching some clip of something and it was talking about, I don't know, spiritual, blah, blah, blah. And it was basically just saying a message of like love and this and this. And then underneath it's like, no, only the word of Jesus. Like it was just, I think it's that energy of just no. And if you have an understanding the way you are, I can understand where you're like, no, you're following this thing. But it's almost like, if you don't vote for Biden, you're not a bad person. That's how it comes across to someone's like.
Well, that's the unfortunate part about evangelism and its distortion, is like pushing someone into anything is never going to get you anywhere. And being aggressive about your opinions, like no one's asking. Be the embodiment, like represent the fruit of what it's like to live in the Holy Spirit.
which is basically at the end of the day, that is literally his message. He
Mhm.
gave his message through the life he lived.
Go get a mic and start preaching.
But like, it's
I'm
like at the end of the day,
kidding, I'm
that's like
kidding.
that's it. Have you ever heard? Oh, wait, we got to wrap up. I think I was always interested in reading this. Was it Thomas Jefferson? He wrote his own Bible. I think it was either Thomas Jefferson or one of those guys. And in that Bible, it's only things that were supposedly spoken only by Jesus. He wrote that Bible. It's just that's all
Never
that's
heard
in
of
it. Yeah. I'll have to figure out.
I'm not a historian.
Yeah. But it just seems like it would be interesting to just read that and see what that was.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to learn always. I feel like this world of spirituality, there's an infinite. I think if anyone says, "Oh, there's like I'm good," like there's something else to learn, you're just a liar.
See, I've gone the opposite way, and not that I don't want to learn more things or study more things, but I can see how studying more stuff and like what this person said and like this and this timeline and even studying the history of, was passed down from the Greeks to this person and how this person interpreted it. And then you start to look at some of these scholars and they're fucking down rabbit holes and they're all arguing with each other. And you're like at the end of the day, what are just the core things? And then just focus on that. Just do those instead of getting so like fucking obsessed with all of this stuff. And then you're like, it's just mental masturbation. And then you're like in these arguments with people. And you're like, what are we fucking even talking about? Like, does it matter? It doesn't fucking matter.
Well, the access learning without action in life is just another way to escape.
Yeah. And if it brings you joy, do it. Like study it, study deeper, go down. But if like starting to get anxiety going down all these rabbit holes.
It's like follow the fruit. If you feel peace, if you feel joy, then keep doing those things. And if you don't, then don't.
I think what you should do for the church is you should see if you can explore outside of Austin. Maybe there's some cool churches that are just in more small communities that just have like a really different kind of vibe, more small, close knit, and like, I don't know, like just an old school preacher who's no bullshit and just
we'll
like,
see.
That's the
I mean,
guy.
there's a lot I still have to explore in this city.
Yeah.
If I stay.
Yeah. Never know what you'll be.
Question. Yeah.
Okay. We got to wrap up, but we never talked about yoga, which was literally, I was like, we should have you on the podcast to talk about yoga. That was original tension, which is fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. But you teach yoga. So
I
where
do
do we go do yoga with you? And also you're going to eventually start doing your monthly or every 3 months kind of embodiment practice that you've come up with, which will be sharing, community, breath, sound, a mixture of things to facilitate people just getting embodied.
Yeah.
Right? With no particular.
Yeah. So the intention, well, to answer your question in two ways, yes, I teach yoga. I've been teaching for 5 years. It's such an amazing vehicle for me to just transmit love and help people feel themselves more deeply and connect with, in my opinion, their holiness. So I teach at a studio called Yoga Home, and people get confused when I say that. I don't mean like at home. It's HOM. It's downtown on Congress. Definitely my favorite studio by a landslide in Austin. It's taken me a while to find one, so you can come practice with me there as well as check out other teachers who are great. And then, the mission on my heart, like what's God's put on my heart, is to be a bridge. There's a lot of folks in the Christian community that don't practice yoga as a result of it feeling tied to another religion. And then there's a lot of folks that like don't know how to genuinely just breathe healthfully and get into their body and feel free and feel embodied and whatever. So I am creating a mixed modality movement method. And the intention of it is to have communion with yourself in the Holy Spirit that resides within you. So it'll be a mix of different types of functional movements, as well as breath, prayer, music that is just like taking you on a ride. Music is so important to me. And it'll be sort of like a moving worship simultaneously with like sweating and working out and doing it in community. And then hopefully I will pop up around town within Austin if I'm here, and then we'll see where it flows. But that's what the vision is for. It's called Holy Body, coming soon.
That'd be a good retreat.
Yeah. There'll be retreats with it for sure. My big vision with it is I want to solidify the method, get it dialed in, start teaching it, and then teach other people how to teach it. Because I just think there's such a gap for a place for people to come, a neutral place for people to come and utilize these tools that are so incredible. But back to the original point of what we talked about at the beginning of this, of like, you're not idolizing your body, you're not idolizing these tools, you're just utilizing them in a community space to feel more connected to the essence of the Holy Spirit that resides within you. So that's my goal with it. We'll see where it goes.
When are you going to do your first one?
So I'm sort of in this little incubation period through the rest of August, and then I'll probably launch in September.
Okay, so you're going to do...
Or maybe my birthday's October 4th, and I'm turning 30, so it could be kind of cool to do my first one in October.
Yeah.
You heard it first here.
Oh, so no later than October 4th.
My birthday's October 4th.
Yes, meaning like you're not going to do September, October, so you're either going to do it in September and no later than your birthday.
I am going to be out of town towards the end of September.
That's not my problem.
Let's call it first event.
Sometime in September.
What
I'm saying is you have until October 4th to do it.
Yeah, you keep me accountable. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And then how do they find you to do the event?
My Instagram is at Tori Penta, and it I will say it's likely going to change into just at Holy Body. So for now it's Tori Penta, and then I'll be just posting on that.
Well, just start it because this will probably post in a couple weeks, and all you got to do is just start that hashtag and put a post, and then people can just start going there now.
Yeah, you'll see it on my stories and then through word of mouth if you're in Austin.
And then I'll put it in the show notes, and hopefully it'll be up.
Yeah.
Perfect?
Perfect.
Okay. All right, Tori, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Later, y'all.